Jimmy Butler was all smiles at his introductory presser today.
I'm very, very, very happy that I'm not getting suspended no more.
And they are going to need him quick because Steph Curry took 35 shots, 66 shots over his last two games since Andrew Wiggins has been traded. Meanwhile, LeBron James, he found the fountain of youth, folks. 42 points, and his stat line goes beyond that. Warriors are 0-3 against the Lakers. Let's talk about a busy day in the NBA.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
There's not many defenses in the world that can stop him.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, what's the good word, everyone? Thanks for making Locked On Warriors a part of your day. A lot of ways you could check us out. YouTube's a good way to hang out with us. If you are hanging out with us right now, give us that thumbs up. It's a way to show appreciation for Warriors content delivered your way after games, whenever news breaks, and Monday through Friday. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. You can also find us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Search us on the World Wide Web, and we will pop up. I'm on TikTok. I think it's at It's Charlie Walter, and then Instagram, CWalter22. And we do have a free daily newsletter that's delivered to you, lockedondaily.com. It's free. Just enter your email and that newsletter will be delivered to you. Where do we start with the game, the game, the day, the week that was? I'm exhausted. I'm physically, mentally, emotionally, not even physically exhausted because I haven't moved. I've been sitting with the fake brick behind me for the last 96 hours trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the NBA. Everyone on the move, stars transitioning everywhere. The landscape has changed very much in the NBA. Case in point, today in LA, Luka Doncic on one side, not playing yet. Jimmy Butler on the other, getting ready to play Saturday against the Chicago Bulls for the Golden State Warriors. But he did have his introductory presser. Let's get to that before we talk about the depressing stuff, which is the 2-game losing streak that the Warriors are now on. The back-to-back, they lost them both. Utah obviously kills you. The Lakers, this was a game the Warriors were probably supposed to lose. They were 8.5-point dogs for a reason, missing Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, obviously, and you don't bring in Jimmy Butler, and LeBron goes for 42 points. That's one of those games where you are going to lose. But the Warriors did show some fight. However, you can't lose to the Jazz, and that's the main takeaway from this 2-game road skid. But let's start with Jimmy Butler. He's wearing number 10, first of all, from 22 10, and the reason he's wearing 10 is because of Neymar. He's a big soccer guy. So how about that? Jimmy Butler, man. I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth how I feel about this whole Jimmy Butler signing, but I'll tell you this. I like body language. I'm a minor in psychology for a little bit until I switched my minor, and body language can tell you a lot. And the one thing that I saw today from Jimmy Butler, as compared to the last version that I saw of Jimmy Butler saying he could find no joy in Miami, is that at least for now, and it can change quick, at least for now, he has found some joy. I mean, he was cheesing. He was absolutely cheesing at his introductory press conference next to his former teammate in Chicago who brought him in, Mike Dunleavy. So first of all, that's something that has to excite you a little bit about Jimmy Butler being a Golden State Warrior. The fact that Dunleavy played with Butler and thought highly enough of him from his time in Chicago to bring him in. And in fact, Jimmy's wearing Dunleavy's old Warriors jersey number, 10. So how about that? But Kevon Looney also said good things about Jimmy Butler. I mean, he's heard it through the grapevine, with the top of the grapevine being his former teammate, Andrew Wiggins, who obviously had they had issues in Minnesota, did Butler and Wiggins. A lot of it due to that practice tirade from 2018 where Butler called him out. But it sounds like Wiggins told Kevon Looney a long time ago that Jimmy Butler is a great teammate and a good person for that matter. So that's interesting. The dynamic that I find fascinating about this entire thing is that the Warriors are tying themselves into a 3 playoff window. I talked about it in the extensive show on Jimmy Butler when they traded for him, when they got rid of the 4 players for Andrew Wiggins. But I mean, think of what they have done right about now. They have invested $120+ million into 3 players. 80% of their payroll is being used up on 3 players, and not just 3 guys, but again, the Jurassic Park music. Na, 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 na. 3 aging, 3 dinosaurs, 3 dinosaurs in the sport of basketball they're relying on. So should be interesting there. But this is a perfect segue for LeBron James, who's, the biggest dinosaur of them all. Players at 40 years of age do not do anything in the NBA. Historically speaking, they have never done anything in the NBA. And never have they done anything like this. LeBron James, in their 120-112 win over the Warriors tonight, led the Lakers with 42 points. A 40-year-old scored 42 points, 17 rebounds, 8 assists, 14 of 25 from the floor. This is without Luka Doncic. So we'll start there. The Lakers are hot right now. They are 30-19, and they haven't even added Doncic to the mix. And yes, you can make the argument, well, how's the fit going to be? How's the team going to look defensively? Yes, they add in Mark Williams. The team definitely is going to be able to score the rock defensively. How will this all come together? We will see. But based off how the Lakers look tonight and how they've looked over the last month as compared to the Warriors, it doesn't feel like Jimmy Butler is going to be the deciding factor that's going to close the Warriors in on that now 0-3 gap against the Los Angeles Lakers this season. Again, they couldn't get inside, and there was no Anthony Davis in the lane. So I don't know. I will say this. Jimmy Butler's smiling, man. That has to excite you because the guy's a killer. And when he's playing his best basketball, which from everything that he said in the presser, his mind is right. He's in a good place mentally. I like to take him face value. That's the case. We may be getting a very good version of Jimmy Butler. Gave his farewell to Miami, said, loved the organization, said all the right things, quite frankly. He was a PR machine today in his press conference, saying all the right things. Even this Jim that he gave us when asked about what he was most excited about for playing on the Golden State Warriors.
I'm very, very, very happy that I'm not getting suspended no more.
He also said that he knows a little bit about the Warriors offense. It's give it to Steph Curry. You get out of the way. Then followed up saying he saw him in the Olympics. But it's going to be fascinating to watch how Butler works on this team. I like the signing from a perspective of these next, 3 months, if you can get that deep in the season. I love that. Even leading into next year, I like it. It's just the fact they're extending him those 2 extra years to where you now have this window that is a 35-year-old, another 35-year-old, and a 36-year-old for 3 more years. And if they're not close, like if they head to the playoffs this season with that squad and they lose in the first round, or better yet, they lose in the play-in and they're hovering around 500 all season, it's only going to get more difficult in the offseason because Jonathan Kuminga is up for restricted free agency. And the Warriors right now do not have the capital, it would seem, unless they go way over the apron to sign Jonathan Kuminga. So what are their plans? Could there be something a brewing in the offseason? We have heard that the Warriors are interested in some potential buyout players. Could someone like Ben Simmons get in the fold? We will figure it out as we go. But the one thing is they have committed to aging stars. They have committed to putting all their chips in the middle of the table. That's what this is. They were sitting there scratching their heads thinking, do we go with Vooch? Give away maybe a second-round pick, keep Wiggins, keep this core intact, and try to sneak in and do a little damage. And they said, hell nah. Let's make this a 3 playoff window. Let's hope that everyone ages like a fine wine. Let's look across the court tonight at LeBron James and get some of that elixir that he's been guzzling down in LA and hope that these guys can stay healthy and that Jimmy Butler is truly the missing link. Because one thing that Steve Kerr said after the game today is that Jimmy Butler will settle the Warriors down in clutch moments. He called the collapse in Utah on Wednesday night a good example. A 10-point lead with 3 minutes left. Kerr said he's confident they close out that game with Jimmy Butler. But we've gone 10 minutes and 30 seconds of the show today and have not really explained how the Warriors lost to the Lakers tonight. A very horrific call down the stretch. A lot of guts from the Golden State Warriors, but 17 minutes from Jackson Rowe, that is not a winning recipe any day of the week. Locked On Warriors continues with a full Lakers breakdown coming up.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% annual IRA boost, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate. Claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Let's get back to it, folks.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully, we'll never find out.
All right, so when Colin Cowherd said, 7 years ago at this point, hey, LeBron, we're good. We got Ben Simmons. You can go now. Clip that for the rest of the time. I mean, I've said some pretty dumb things on this show from time to time, comparing Brandon Pajemski to Manu Ginobili. And granted, I said mini Manu, right? He's Kmart brand, Manu Ginobili. And had a few plays tonight. I mean, there was one where real time, it looked like he took 6 steps. They didn't call the travel. I think he got fouled on the play, but he somehow kept his pivot foot. And I'm like, that was Manu-esque. And then he had one where he faked it behind the back and kicked it to the corner to Jackson Rowe. Like, that was Manu-esque. But enough rambling. I've had some bad takes over the years. And bad takes are what Colin Cowherd did in that situation, or a singular bad take, because LeBron just put up 42 and he is 40 years of age. But I want to come down to the wire of this game, because story of the day and the moral of the story and the plot of this game was just that the Warriors were undermatched. There's no Andrew Wiggins, who obviously is getting ready to suit up for Miami. Jimmy Butler had been introduced, but he was not available to play in this game. So you're down. And you're also down Jonathan Kuminga. And I think if today taught us anything, these last 2 games taught us anything, it's that Andrew Wiggins was really, really damn good. If you didn't think Andrew Wiggins was already an excellent basketball player before these last couple of games, I think the proof is in the pudding that he was a very valuable member of this team, most notably Steph Curry's role in these games. No time for rest. Goes 37 minutes in the game today. Shoots 35 times. 35 times. Shot it 31 times in Utah. That's 66 shot attempts over the course of 2 games. You'd hope that Jimmy can come in and carve some of those isolation opportunities, get the ball in Jimmy's hands a little bit, and give him some moments to really attack the rim, put some pressure on the basket, which is something the Warriors did not do a ton of today, aside from Curry, who there was a stretch there in the first half, got to the rim quite a bit to kind of keep the Warriors within striking distance, which was about 20, because it had moments where it looked like it was going to turn into one of those Memphis-type games in Memphis, where the Warriors are down 40 in the third quarter and we have to turn off this game. But the Warriors showed fight. mean, Curry was 13 of 35, 6 of 20 from the floor, 37 points. Buddy Hield added in 15. Moses Moody had 14 off the bench. But Pat Spencer had 13. And when Pat Spencer scores 13 in 17 minutes, you know that your backs are up against the wall against the Lakers team that has won how many games in their last 10? I mean, 30 and 19 on the season, now 17 and 6 at home. Lakers have been red hot. And when Jackson Rowe plays 15 minutes, recently called up for the G League on his two-way contract, you know that the Warriors are in a ton of trouble. Rowe, by the way, was 0 of 5 in the game. He was 0 of 4 from 3. Do not think he is a long-term solution there. But Guy Santos didn't even play. He had left knee tendonitis, and he is at this point, where the depth is as depleted as it is, he is a valuable body. One thing I want to point out that's a little bit strange, Trayce Jackson-Davis, 5 minutes in the game today, does not attempt a shot. The box score was 100% zeros except for one foul and one steal in the game. The decline of Trayce Jackson-Davis since Quentin Post has been thrown into the mix has been something of extreme interest, because Jackson Davis has had his moments, A and B. He's getting ready for the Rising Stars game in San Francisco. Another player getting ready for that game in the All-Star game is Quentin Post, who will be a part of the Rising Stars game. He played 11 minutes in the game. He had 6 points. Post is getting ready to sign with the big Warriors. So he'll take one of these 3 open roster spots for Golden State. We'll see how they fill this thing out in the buyout market. Kevin Knox could be a name that we are potentially looking at. If they look to bring him up to the show, he cannot be on a two-way. So he's too old, I know he's too old, too much service time to be on a two-way contract. So even though Post wouldn't take up one of those positions, Knox could not head up to the show that way. But keep your eyes on that. But yeah, storyline of the game today, the Warriors just did not have enough. But the lasting image from the game today was an absurd no call on an 8-second violation where the Warriors were within a couple of possessions. It felt like they had a little bit of a chance. Now, this is a team that when trailing after 3 quarters is what, 1-23 or something? Steph Curry was stunned when he found out about that stat. But this is a team in the Warriors that do not win games when they are trailing after 3 quarters. But they had a chance to at least make it interesting, to at least make some of that sold out Lakers crowd sweat a little bit. And it was an absurd no call on this 8-second violation. The clock was down to 15 as the Lakers are getting it out of their hands. Do the math. 9 seconds off the 24-second shot clock. It should have been a violation. Draymond went insane. He was stomping his feet, gave up on the play. Pajimski was in the back, hands up. He gave up on the play, and the Lakers went down and made a wide open layup. And from there, the rest of the game was just Draymond being pissed off. He was pissed the rest of the game. He was talking smack to guys on the floor. I was afraid there may be some sort of a little altercation. We did not want any malice at the palace type stuff, but he was fuming. Kerr was fuming. No idea how Draymond did not get kicked out of this game. He was as upset as I have seen him all season, yet he did not get tossed. I thought the most interesting part, though, of that final minute where Draymond is shooting the free throw and misses it, and you saw LeBron just almost ridiculing, almost mocking Draymond Green after that missed free throw. 42 points from LeBron James. When you score 42 points on your home floor, you can do whatever you want. Jimmy, save us. Save us, Jimmy. We're going to need something, because what we saw from the Warriors tonight was a lot of fight, but it was a team that was already extremely shorthanded, and a bench of Looney, Rowe, Jackson Davis, Payton, Spencer, and Moody is enough to make you go bird box and want to just close your eyes and blindfold yourself for the rest of the time. I want to get into some more Jimmy Butler when we return. Draymond Green's words on the trade, why I think it's going to be most fascinating to watch. Alpha males, Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. How are they going to coexist together? We will discuss that coming up on Locked On Warriors.
When you have rare situations, rare players do rare things.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. You will get $20 off your first purchase. If you're looking for tickets to your next big event, definitely check out Gametime. It could be a concert, a comedy show, sports game. Finding the right ticket at the right price, it can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Here is how it works. Gametime Picks lets the app do all the hard work for you. It gets you the best deals so you never have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. My favorite part about it, it's the panoramic seat view where you can see exactly where you are sitting before the game. It is huge in a different stadium. And with Gametime's lowest price guarantee, they will refund you 110% of the difference if you find a better deal somewhere else. You won't find a better deal somewhere else. Gametime has the best deal. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download that Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Let's get back to the show.
I am a Golden State Warrior trying to win another championship.
Jimmy Butler talked about winning an NBA championship. He said he's never got the one. He's won a lot of big games. He's a competitor. We all know that. At the highest level, as Steph Curry described him. I mean, going back to 2014, Jimmy Butler spent one offseason training the entire time with no internet or no cable. That's wild stuff. In today's day and age, that's wild stuff. And Butler's an interesting human being because he has that devilish grin on his face at all time. He's not a man of necessarily many words. He's smooth with his words. He's smooth with his game. He just is an interesting character that has always been depicted as somewhat of a villain when you're not rooting for him or his team. And now when he's on your team, it's like, oh, Jimmy's kind of suave in his press conferences. But he said all the right things in regarding to his departure from Miami. Said that the main reason it didn't work out is just parties were talking back and forth. And he said, at a certain point, there's too much talking. So it sounds like he's excited to be in the Bay Area with little distraction, having a 1,000% clean slate. But how will he pair with Draymond Green? That's the biggest thing. And will Draymond Green be the next domino to fall? Because if the Warriors do want to make some moves this offseason, with the way they're capped and with Kuminga's restricted free agency, if they do want to make some moves, they may have to get creative with it. And he would obviously be the most likely trade chip along with Kuminga if there was some sort of a sign and trade. But those would be the two guys, obviously, that would probably return you the most at this point in their careers. But two menaces, two pests, two hotheads, two competitors to the highest level, and putting them on the same team with their defensive tenacity, the way that they can pick up, the way that both can facilitate, the way that Jimmy can finish around the rim, the way that Jimmy can take over in the fourth quarter, and the way that both of them can play mental games with the opposition. Like I saw Udonis Haslem, a former teammate of Jimmy Butler's on the Heat, the longtime legend of the Miami Heat on ESPN's pregame show. And Haslam said, Jimmy, just he plays the psychological game. You see that devilish grin on his face, and it's because he could see into the opposition, apparently. Haslam said he just exploits your weaknesses at all times. He knows exactly what your weaknesses are. He finds a way to exploit them, especially when the lights are the brightest. But are Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler going to work in the same locker room? Kevon Looney is someone I trust. Seasoned vet for the Golden State Warriors. The youngest 28-year-old vet in history. Oldest, youngest. The man makes no sense. How the hell is Kevon Looney 28 years old? The way that he plays, you would just assume, in the way that he carries himself and the way that he talks and leads, you would assume the guy's like 34. But no, Kevon Looney is only 28. But how will he fit in? says Looney. Guys who are like that are dogs, alpha males, and they respect other people like that. They kind of stay out of each other's way. Looney doesn't think it's going to be an issue. And then Draymond Green said on the trade, he win, I win. That's the fit. Winners win. That's what it is. He's a winner, a perennial all-star, tough as nails, just effing get the job done however it needs to get done. Those were the words that Draymond Green had on his new teammate, Jimmy Butler. He will play his first game back in his old home in Chicago on Saturday. That is the first time we will see Jimmy Butler suiting up for the Warriors, wearing number 10, seeing what the impact is that this 35-year-old who had a triple-double with 30, I believe it was 39 points earlier in the season. That is correct. 30, what are the numbers here? It was quite the incredible basketball game. So he had, this is great podcasting, by the way, just looking through all these notes on how many he scored. Forget it. Let's just talk about what he did in the playoffs in the past. I mean, 42 in back-to-back wins over the Bucks in 2023. Had 43 times in the 2022 playoff run and averaged 27 throughout that postseason. That was not that long ago. Players fall off a cliff a lot of times at age 35, and that's why this is dangerous, because we have not seen extended Jimmy Butler this year to know exactly what he is. And there were some games where he scored 8 points this year and he'd follow him up with 30. Here are the numbers, finally, that says that Butler still has it in him. 35 points, 19 rebounds, and 10 assists in a win over Detroit earlier this season. 35, 19, and 10. Those are the numbers that he can get you on his best of nights. And he seems to have his best of nights in the playoffs. So that's the question. Can the Warriors get there? First of all, because they have to bring in a new piece to this team. They have to figure out how Jimmy Butler works within the offense. We had just seen the struggles that Dennis Schroeder had coming over from Brooklyn, where he's having a career season. He comes into Steve Kerr's scheme, and it just never really clicked. By the way, God bless Dennis Schroeder, who has been all around the country, or at least getting phone calls all around the country, traded from 3 different teams and then waived. So all the best to Dennis Schroeder there. But I said the Warriors need a dog. We need more dogs. We don't need no cats. We don't need no meows. We need more dogs. And that is what Jimmy Butler gives you. He gives you that presence that Steve Kerr said when you're up by 11 points with 3 minutes left against the Utah Jazz. Jimmy Butler's not going to allow you to lose that game. Steph Curry can do a lot at this point in his career, being the alpha in terms of his on-court demeanor and just everything about what he brings to the basketball court. That's just not necessarily who he is. He's a leader by example. Jimmy Butler is a leader by talking, calling people out for their BS, and calling someone out if they make dumb plays. I mentioned a subplot to this season is going to be the relationship between Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler, because we've already seen Peyton get into it with Hield a little bit. We've seen Draymond have some words for Buddy Hield. I wonder how Jimmy Butler is going to take the play from Buddy Hield. Although I will say, let's give credit where it's due. Buddy's been awesome the last couple of games. 15 more today after he scored 18 in the loss against the Utah Jazz. So maybe the Buddy cycle is starting to flip, right? As the Jimmy Butler cycle goes from incredible all-star that leads team to the finals to disgruntled, behind the scenes drama that apparently, according to Jimmy Butler, there's no drama. He just wants to play basketball and keeps getting suspended by the words of him. And there's talking going behind the scenes and he's not saying anything. And the reports are that he's demanding a trade to Phoenix, or that's where he wants to wind up. And then he comes in the press conference today, and believe him or not, he says, I don't even talk. Like, I just kind of mind my own business. Big smile on his face. I just mind my own business. I don't know how this stuff gets out, but I'm excited to be a Golden State Warrior, and I'm here to win an NBA championship. Everyone has said on the Warriors, if you're down to win an NBA championship and you're going to put in the work to do so, then we're all on the same page here. But how long is it going to take for him to fit in? Because the Warriors have to start winning games, and winning games right now does get a little bit easier, at least for one night. It's the Chicago Bulls on Saturday. Then it's up the road to Milwaukee, who's been playing really good basketball, and they have welcomed Kyle Kuzma to their squad as they traded Chris Middleton to Washington. Then it's at Dallas to see Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Kyrie, and the Dallas Mavericks before it's at Houston and at Sacramento to round up the road trip. So Chicago, a very winnable game. The other four, at least on the spread, on the FanDuel spread, the Warriors could be underdogs in those 4 games. So not an easy task. To the comments we go. We got from Red Black, our guy. I hope Jimmy is serious and can stay healthy. I think he's going to be serious, everyone. I think he's going to come in with a vengeance. Like Jimmy Butler is a stone cold killer. He's an assassin. He is just built a little bit differently. Got a little crazy to him. Just a meticulous work ethic when he wants to have one, and he just wants to hoop, it sounds like. Now, could that go awry in 2.5 seasons? Absolutely. This thing could be an absolute disaster class. But in terms of just this season alone, if we take out the whole extension aspect, I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to fit in with the Warriors well. He's going to be a piece that they have been missing. It does suck that you had to give up Andrew Wiggins in the process, who's been averaging 21 points over his last 10 games and has been exceptional since Jonathan Kuminga went out. But we'll see. He needs to hold himself accountable. He's on some BS at times. We'll see if Draymond tries to, hold him accountable, or if Draymond is going to do what Kevon Looney said, which is, what is that? Alpha males, they kind of just stay out of each other's way. So we'll see what the first issue is that pops up. There's always some sort of an issue with Jimmy Butler, but sometimes it is just a case of Jimmy telling it how it is. And again, psychology aspect of it, just take him for who he is. Steve Kerr said he doesn't know who Jimmy is. He's like, I love Andrew Wiggins. He's one of my favorite players to coach. That infectious smile, the way that he came to practice every day, laughing, joking. And then you bring in Jimmy Butler, who does not have the greatest reputation right now, at least, out of South Beach. Was it a fully tarnished relationship? I guess it depends on who you ask. He did a ton for that franchise, but this season has been ugly. No doubt about it. So we will see. And then finally from Buccaneer Bruce, Warriors are not making the playoffs. They're going to be 14th place in the West. Let's hope that does not happen. However, with the draft pick that was sent out, that is protected, it's top 10 protected. The good news is that could be a lot worse in terms of a trade, right? The most interesting thing that I am looking forward to seeing is this whole Jonathan Kuminga relationship over the next couple of months, because Kuminga's earned his keys. Like, will he be a cornerstone of this franchise? I say no. But I also have a very strong definition of cornerstone. Like, someone popped in the comments when I said a lot of franchises, they don't even have a cornerstone. And someone said, because I said Reggie Miller is the only Pacers one, they said Paul George. I'm like, okay, fair. And then he said Danny Granger. I said, brother, Danny Granger is a one-time All-Star that never took his team anywhere, that played until he was like 30 years old. And Danny Granger was never a cornerstone. That's the cornerstone of a franchise. Then you are a franchise that's going to be a 6-7 seed for a long time. I'm talking cornerstone of a championship team. Can Kuminga be that guy that you build around? Throw $40 million at, you say, Jonathan Kuminga is our guy. I think he can be a damn good number 2. And he had an opportunity to be the number 2 before he got hurt, coming off the bench, and he was exceptional. He was scoring 30 points some of these nights. He was active on the glass. He was getting to the free throw line. Injury hurts. Did he just get Wally pipped? The answer is no, because the Warriors desperately need Jonathan Kuminga to get back here as quickly as possible. But I will say that Jimmy Butler now slides into that number 2 spot, and all the hype that Kuminga had before the injury is going to shift over to Jimmy Butler. And you wonder how Kuminga is going to deal with it. You wonder what he's thinking as this season winds down, and he kind of, has some options heading into the offseason about where he could potentially be playing next season. But the Warriors have the options too. They have the options to pay the man, keep him in town. So we will see if they do that. Once again, I'm exhausted. It's been a long week. Let's talk after the Warriors-Bulls game on Saturday. Jimmy Butler's debut. Should be a fun one. We will break it down then. This is Locked On Warriors. Check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.